American votes are being counted to determine who will become the next president of the United States.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has dismissed his defense minister Gallant.
Russian strikes on Zaporizhia and Kharkiv kill at least 6 and injure dozens more.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and French President Emmanuel Macron will not attend the landmark UN climate summit in Baku this month.
Workers across Europe are facing thousands of job cuts in multiple struggling sectors. American votes are being counted to determine who will become the next president of the United States, and winners have been called in some states. The race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump remains tight, and the final result is yet to be determined. Where the count matters most is in the 7 battleground states, where winners are hard to predict. In the swing states of Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, counting is well underway. The atmosphere remains tense as several polling stations in swing states have reported bomb threats. The FBI, however, deemed the threats as a non-credible effort from Russia to influence election results. Trump has also already made claims of election fraud, although election commissioners reject this. According to the latest exit polls, Harris supporters prioritize democracy, while Trump voters emphasize the economy most.
Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has cast his ballot in Florida, where at least 15 officers from the local sheriff's department and a number of Secret Service agents awaited his arrival.
No, I feel very confident. I have felt. We went in with a very big lead today, and it looks like Republicans have shown up in force.
Trump's running mate J.D. Vance was also spotted at the polls as he voted in Cincinnati earlier in the day. Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris voted ahead of Election Day with a mail-in ballot, but she left her voters with a positive message in Pennsylvania at her final rally last night.
And momentum is on our side. Momentum is on our side. Can you feel it? We have momentum, right?
Meanwhile, Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Walz and his family made one last Election Day stop in Pennsylvania before heading to join Harris in the nation's capital.
A Russian strike on an infrastructure facility in the Ukrainian city of Zaporizhia killed at least 6 people on Tuesday, according to the regional governor. He added that dozens more were injured after a fire broke out at the site. Later in the day, another strike hit a residential area in Kharkiv, damaging a 5-story apartment building. Both cities have faced an onslaught of Russian attacks in recent weeks, which have often targeted densely populated neighborhoods. Russia attacked another residential neighborhood in Kharkiv only days earlier on Sunday, injuring at least 15 people. This comes as 11,000 North Korean troops reportedly reached the front lines in Kursk, as Ukrainian troops say they engaged with North Korean units for the first time. The head of Ukraine's presidential office has called for stronger support from the country's Western allies. Thousands of Georgian opposition supporters gathered in Tbilisi for a second time on Monday to protest the election result they say was rigged. The ruling Georgian Dream Party was declared the winner on 26 October amid allegations of vote rigging helped by Russia. The protesters waved Georgian and European flags demanding new parliamentary elections under international supervision and an investigation of the alleged election fraud. European election observers said they witnessed instances of bribery, double voting, and physical violence. Opposition leaders vow to boycott sessions of parliament and hold regular protests until their demands are met. The opposition is also urging the West not to recognize the vote and will gather more evidence of violations to push for a new election.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has dismissed his Defense Minister Gallant, citing a crisis of trust between the two of them.
במהלך החודשים האחרונים האמון הזה נסדק. ביני לבין שר הביטחון גלנט התגלו פערים משמעותיים בניהול המערכה, והפערים הללו נולדו בהצהרות, בפעולות שמנוגדות להחלטות הממשלה ולהחלטות הקבינט.
The pair have long been at odds over Israel's campaign in Gaza, but put up a united front in the early days of the war. A previous attempt to fire Gallant in March 2023 also sparked widespread street protests against Netanyahu. Foreign Affairs Minister Israel Katz has now been appointed to succeed him.
Sources close to the UN informed Euronews that Russian President Vladimir Putin and French President Emmanuel Macron will not attend the landmark UN climate summit in Baku this month. More than 100 leaders confirmed their attendance to COP29 in Azerbaijan, where they will review the climate goal set 9 years ago in Paris, which aims to keep the global temperature rise this century well below 2 degrees Celsius. From Europe, leaders from Czechia, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Italy, Poland, and Spain have said they will attend. This year's COP has been dubbed the Finance COP. The key issue up for debate is who pays the trillions of dollars developing countries need in order to cope with increasingly extreme weather while avoiding the reliance on fossil fuels. The White House confirmed earlier that US President Joe Biden will also not be attending the climate summit.
8 suspected members of a far-right group have been arrested in raids in Germany and Poland. Prosecutors say the group, which calls itself the Saxon Separatists, have been planning a violent takeover of power in eastern Germany.
Ging davon aus, dass es zu einem unbestimmten Tag X in Deutschland zu einem gesellschaftlichen Zusammenbruch kommen wird. Und für diesen Fall wollte dann die Gruppierung mit Waffengewalt Gebiete in Sachsen erobern und dort einen nationalsozialistischen Staat errichten. Zur Vorbereitung darauf haben die Beschuldigten bereits paramilitärische Trainings durchgeführt, zum Beispiel etwa den Häuserkampf geübt oder auch den Umgang mit Waffen.
The arrest operation involved more than 450 police officers and special forces who searched 20 premises in connection with the arrests. One of the suspects was reportedly armed during the raid and was injured by a gunshot.
Workers across Europe are facing thousands of job cuts in multiple struggling sectors. German auto parts maker Schaeffler is to cut 4,700 jobs, mainly in Germany, but also at other sites in Europe, demonstrating the challenges faced in the German car industry. Meanwhile, grocery chain Auchan has announced redundancy plans for over 2,000 jobs in France. A dozen outlets will close, including 1 supermarket and 3 hypermarkets, due to a lack of profitability. Its customers are not surprised, saying they often notice empty shelves at the once considered pioneer of hypermarkets. Auchan is planning to reduce its sales area by an average of 25% for hypermarkets. The company intends to focus on smaller stores, drive-through, and home delivery of fresh produce.
While Americans are anxiously awaiting the outcome of this historic presidential race, Washington is bracing for the worst. The District of Columbia is preparing for another violent attack of supporters of Donald Trump should he lose to Kamala Harris. As you can see behind me, the White House complex is looking like a fortress. A black metal fence of more than 2 meters in height has been added to already existing tight security measures. Federal and local authorities fear scenes reminiscent of the deadly assault on the Capitol on January the 6th, 2021. On that day, a pro-Trump mob ransacked the halls of Congress as the then president spread lies about his election loss. And today, again, Trump has already started to question the integrity of the vote before ballots are counted, especially in Georgia. In that southern state, Republican top election officials and the courts have debunked claims of fraud, but that hasn't stopped Trump from repeating them, resulting in an atmosphere of suspicion and anxiety. Will the election be peaceful? America is holding its breath. Stefan Grobe, Euronews, Washington.
As the United States decides on a new president, many migrants in Mexico hold their breath for what the results could mean for their future. Both Republican candidate Donald Trump and Democratic contender Kamala Harris pledged to tighten immigration enforcement in their election campaigns.
Preocupante porque de repente esa oportunidad se puede acabar y es la esperanza que hay una puerta que se puede cerrar. Entonces, pues la verdad.
Habla como mucho, con mucho racismo, hacer una deportación masiva, o sea, deportar a gente que ya está dentro de Estados Unidos, como también que quiere quitar la aplicación de CBP-1.
Trump, who recently pledged to carry out the largest deportation operation in American history, criticized the Biden administration for its weak stance on immigration enforcement. As a result, Harris called for even tougher border restrictions after new asylum restrictions imposed under Biden already led to a decrease in arrests made for illegally crossing the border from Mexico.